Welcome back to For The Hayters, everyone. Today we're diving into a story of heartbreak, betrayal, resilience, and ultimately healing. Our guest, Kari, has experienced the trauma of emotional and verbal abuse, betrayal by people she trusted most, and the long-term effects of abandonment issues. But through therapy, self-work, and the support of her now husband, she's learned to rebuild herself and find joy in places she never thought possible. This is a raw, honest conversation about surviving toxic relationships, the ripple effects of childhood wounds, and the beauty of finding love when you think it's no longer meant for you. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Hello, Kari. Thank
Hi.
you for being here and sharing your story. Can you start out by telling us a little bit about your childhood and upbringing?
Okay, I'm going to try to give you the Cliff Notes version of this because there's quite a bit to it. But, so I was born to a single mother, and not for nothing, I think that her and my biological dad did try to raise me at some point,
Mm-hmm.
but when she got into another relationship after they ended, or I don't even know if it was actually a relationship, they were best friends, is probably the best thing to say, and, things happened. But she got married, he signed his rights over, and the intent was for my adoptive father to raise me with my mother. That ended up being a shit show. He ended up actually being toxic as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so they separated, and there was a time where they tried to, I guess, have visitation with me, but at one point he actually said, "She reminds me too much of you. I can't be around her. I just can't have her anymore." And my mom, being the great person she is, she decided to, just try to raise me on her own. So a few years later goes by, she meets my dad at work, my stepfather now, but they started dating. They had my sister, got married. They are still together to this day. He's my dad for all intents and purposes, and I'm very, very grateful for him.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the best time in my life, though, was definitely when it was just me and my mom, because we got to just be us.
Mm-hmm.
My childhood, as far as, once they got married, they were not well off. I would say we had everything we needed, but there was not anything really that we wanted. My husband and I joke because you know how they used to send out JCPenney catalogs?
Yeah.
I was like, I was too poor for a JCPenney catalog, and he was like, "Babe, they're free." So I was like, "Oh, I didn't know."
Yeah.
I just never noticed it because it wasn't a place we could ever shop.
Yeah.
So my mom became disabled in my early teens, and she was home all of the time. She was unable to work, put an even further financial strain on my parents. I was luckily able to start working around that time, so helping out.
Mm-hmm.
I did meet my ex-husband at that same time, and we were together for about 6 or 7 years.
And how old were you when you met him?
13.
Wow.
He was 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Young.
It was an on and off thing. We were so young, and it wasn't super serious in the beginning, but you get 16 to 18, things get a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
There were times that I found out he had cheated on me. Really didn't help any of my abandonment issues from my dad,
Mm-hmm.
my adoptive father, my biological father. So that really made things difficult. I did try to work things out with him, and we ended up getting married, but it wasn't for a long period of time.
How do you think that those abandonment, like, is that abandonment recognized now, or is it recognized at that point too?
Um, I don't think I recognized it then. I think that I recognized it once I got a little further into adulthood and saw how how real relationships are supposed to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that the relationship with your biological father has kind of shaped you at all?
Um,
Or the lack of relationship?
I'm trying to maybe slightly. I would say that it definitely has a little portion, but I wouldn't say at this point that it's like a big part of who I am. Maybe it is. I don't know.
We're still figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your relationship with your son's father, your ex, and how how and when did you first recognize that kind of abuse that started happening?
So I think the red flags were definitely there in the beginning. I just chose to ignore them because I thought, I just wanted to be loved at that point. And, one, I just turned 21, 22. Like, I'd gotten out of my marriage. I was like, okay, well, this is what it's going to be, slim pickings. And, yeah, I noticed it early on, but...
So you were married and then that's when you met?
Yes.
Okay.
I met my son's father when I was actually separated from my ex-husband.
Okay.
And
your ex-husband is the one that you got married to that you met at 13?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Following along.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good clarifying question. Yeah, so we were only married for 7 months, and we were together for 6 to 7 years on and off. We were married for 7 months, and then I was like, yeah, this isn't working out. We've had too much go on in this, and I just can't move past that.
Yeah.
And then I had met my son's father, and I think, one, I thought he was really good looking at the time. Now I'm like, but then secondly, like, I don't know, he was hanging out with people that I also wanted to be around, so it just kind of one of those things that kind of fell into place.
How old were you when you met him?
21.
Okay, so just like early mind, early everything, kind of all around, like
Yes.
early to life experiences. And how long were you guys together?
So there's a couple of little segments in our relationship. So we were together for about 3 or 4 months. We broke it off. I was like, nah, I'm not really about this. Like, he's a little too much for me. And then I don't know what got in my head. Maybe I got lonely. And I was like, all right, let me see if I can weasel my way back in because he treated me a little bit good. And we started dating, and we were together for about another 4 months, and I got pregnant in that time frame.
So it was pretty early.
Yes. However, I don't even know if when I told you my story originally, I don't even know if I put this in there. I had broken up with him, and the week later found out I was pregnant.
Wow. What did that conversation look like?
I didn't tell him until I was 7 months pregnant.
Okay. So you weren't together for that whole time?
No, and he didn't know anything. He had found out through the grapevine, because the area we lived in was super small, that I was pregnant. And at first I was like, yeah, it's not yours. Like, kind of just like waved him off. But like, we ran into each other, and I was like, and I had actually had a conversation with my mother, and I was like, I don't know if it would be my place to decide whether or not he's a good father. Like, yeah, he was cruddy to me when we were dating, but I don't know if he's going to be a bad dad.
Yeah. And so that, like, just to speak on that kind of relationship that you guys had, it was for a short period of time, but there was heavy, just like emotional abuse.
Yes. So I will preface this with, we are good now. We have both done our work, and we are very civil.
Yeah.
However, at that time, we were both drinking. He was a heavy drinker, and it was the constant, like, belittling, controlling. I couldn't hang out with my friends. I'm very grateful that it never got to like a physical abuse standpoint, but that's not negating the fact that I did actually go through something pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's heavy, right? Like
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of weight that comes from toxic relationships. There's a lot of behavior that we have to eventually unlearn from toxic relationships. And so what happened when you gave him ultimately that opportunity to make that decision of, you know, if he was going to be a good father or not?
Yeah. So I told him, I showed him the sonogram pictures. I actually had him come over to my parents' house. I was living with my parents because I had lost my job when I was pregnant as well. And so I showed him the sonogram pictures and I was like, hey, look at the date. Like, and he's like, what does this mean? And I said that the baby is yours. Like, I wasn't with anybody else. This baby is yours. And he like broke down crying. And I was like, okay, like maybe he's changed a little bit. You know, he's really emotional about this. And we told everyone within that first week. And I think at that point, like, I was kind of convinced, oh yeah, he's going to be a really great dad. He is a great dad. But I was like, maybe he'll be a great boyfriend now.
Yeah.
So we decided to try to work it out again. And we dated for another 6 months after Dylan was born.
Okay, so you were together for the end of your pregnancy, during pregnancy, and then for
Yeah,
a little
so
after.
I think also because I had a really horrible pregnancy, I think it kind of took some of the weight off of my parents as well. So like it made me feel a little bit better that my mom and my dad weren't carrying everything. I was in and out of the hospital from August to December. I had a lot of issues. I had placenta previa, a partial placental abruption,
Wow.
preterm labor. Like, I went through it, okay?
Yeah, it
This
sounds
kid was
like-
trying
yeah.
to take me out.
Oh my gosh.
And it did lift a little bit of that pressure from my parents. So I was like, okay, like, he's being really great with me. And it was almost like a light switch flipped as soon as the baby was born. It was like, okay, like, you're starting to be really rude to me again.
Yeah.
And we tried to work it out for a couple of months after that. He actually proposed at one point, and like 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm absolutely done.
Yeah.
And, you know, at that point, like, I'm leaning heavily on my family. I'm leaning heavily on my best friends. Like, I was really going through it.
Yeah, and you talk, you know, when we spoke, you talked a lot about betrayal and what comes with that, and I feel like maybe that's the next step of this overall story. If you can speak to that a little bit.
Yes. So through high school, in 10th grade, I met my best friend. My prior best friend. I have a best friend now. Let me not get them mixed up because my current best friend will be mad. But I met my ex-best friend in high school in 10th grade, and I thought it was like the ride or die, like we're going to be best friends forever. Well, everything was really great. We actually worked at the same place after I had Dylan. Like, we were getting along great. She knew everything I went through with Dylan's dad. Like, it was golden. I noticed something like a few weeks before this betrayal that kind of like tipped me off. I saw that she was texting my son's father.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not going to be crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to think anything's going on. And we even like all hung out like within that time frame too. So it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Then we all went out one night, and it was just me, her, and a group of her friends, not my son's father. And they dropped her off, and I was with them. They were going to drop me off next. And they go, so how do you feel about your baby daddy and your best friend being together?
What?
Yeah, so I was like, huh? What did you say? And they were like, oh, shit, you didn't know. I was like, no, I didn't. And I was like, all right, like I was drinking, and at that point of the night, I was still pretty intoxicated.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever. And then the next day, I'm going through these emotions, and I was like,
Of course.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like how do you even process
Like
that?
at that point, like she was fully aware that I was still trying to process whether or not I wanted to try to work things out with him or not. And so it was kind of like one of those things where it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I think that is probably the lowest I have ever been in my life. Yeah.
What kind of feelings are there, right? Like how do you try to navigate those? Do you have a conversation with her? Are you angry with him? Do you have a conversation with him? Or is it just like I don't even want to deal with this type of situation?
So, well, her and I worked together. So
Okay.
that was really interesting. Thankfully, neither one of us supervised each other, but I did confront both of them that next day, and it was just like a text like, I can't believe you guys would do this to me. And of course, like my family being around, like all of our families are in the area. They find out my aunt threatened to kick her ass in my work parking lot, which caused issues for me at work. I get pulled in. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. I didn't threaten it,
Yeah.
but because I'm very calm. Like, I'm one of those think now and react later.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was rough for a good couple of months. They moved in together like within 2 months.
Wow.
It was wild.
How do you navigate co-parenting at that point?
See, it was like a double-edged sword. Like, they're together, and now I know she's going to be around my son. And, like, usually in a relationship, like, you don't know the other person that's going to be around your kid, like, from the get-go. I knew everything about her. Like, we shared everything. And I was like, you guys are both toxic. This is not going to work out. Like, I tried telling them in the beginning, and they moved in together still.
Was there any sort of sign that, like, if you knew her as a person that well, that like that's something that she would do? That I feel like that's like the most like biggest form of betrayal, right?
Yeah, like your best friend and going after somebody you dated. Yeah. I knew her personality. I knew that she wasn't the most, I guess, conservative person is the best way to put it without being really rude.
Yeah.
But I never thought that would happen. I thought we were closer than that. Mm-hmm. So,
Did you ever get any explanation or apologies from that?
No, I didn't. When they finally broke up, and her and I had talked it, like, we still had each other's numbers and, like, would talk every now and then and run into each other because it was just a small area. Our last conversation, she told me I was an ugly troll, and she never really wanted to be my friend.
Okay.
I was like, okay. I was just like, whatever. Like, it's not worth even trying to do anything at this point.
Yeah. How does that shape your relationships, moving forward, that betrayal, right? Like, how do you feel like your sense of trust in people is diminished? Do you carry that with you into like new relationships?
I mean, my trust had already been diminished from my ex-husband, and then with that betrayal, it was just like, well, I can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
So, like, my relationships after that point were very low level, not super deep. Luckily, I had already had my other friend, that's my current best friend. I already met her, and we had become close when I was pregnant with my son, too. So, like, it just ended up really working out. She's actually married to my cousin now, and they have kids. So, it's like, all right, super tiny little group of people now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What, after your son's father leaves and, does what he does, what does single motherhood look like for you?
It was really low emotionally. I actually, when I was talking to my mom about doing this podcast, it actually got a little emotional because she was like, I was really worried about you. She was like, I don't necessarily know if I was worried about you hurting yourself, but I feel like the thoughts were there.
Yeah.
Moving on into single motherhood, I was very fortunate. I had the help of my parents. Like, I lived with them for several years until I actually met my husband, but we'll get into that. And I mean, so I didn't have to like pay for the normal things, but also it was really hard. Like, I wasn't working a great job, and you know, kids are expensive, formula's expensive, diapers are expensive.
Yeah.
Like, it was so hard. I started leaning a little bit more onto my son's father, and you know, went through the whole custody and support process. And in the beginning, it was more of a, I'm gonna be petty, like,
Yeah.
you're dating my best friend, like, I'm going after you for everything I can.
Yeah.
And then, like, it started gradually being like, this is not worth it. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be petty. It's not good for my kid for us to have this horrible relationship. So, yeah.
And that's growth, right? You're still, I mean, how old? You were 22 when you had your son?
Yes.
So, I mean, you're still young, still learning of just life, and life's not easy for anyone. And your early 20s, I think, are your hardest, most enjoyable, but also your most hardest. Is that a double negative? Your hardest part, yeah. Like, they're just your hardest parts of life. So you're trying to navigate single parenting. You're trying to navigate a broken relationship, which is just hard, right? Like, you're trying to navigate the lack of love from men in your life to, like, you know, trying to navigate new relationships in life. So there's just like a lot going on and a lot kind of bottling up around you. Is there any moment where you feel like, or you just had to hold it together? Is there any moment where you have a breakdown, or you have the realization you have a lot of healing to kind of work from?
I mean, I feel like after I had my son, I definitely feel like I was already fighting off like postpartum depression, but I feel like I never really addressed it at that point in time. And then just thereafter, like, there was just these bouts of depression, and I think they kind of correlated to what was going on in my life at the time too.
Yeah.
So, like, either who I was dating or how that was going, and like, it was just a constant like up and down, and it was really hard. Yeah.
What did you do to take care of yourself? Was there any like form of therapy or?
Not before I met my husband. I did try to do like antidepressants. Which really did nothing except for give me side effects. And I was like, this is not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was self-medicating pretty much with alcohol.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a depressant. So you feel worse. And it was just like this perpetual cycle of me just self-medicating, drinking all the time, and like dating these guys that just weren't great.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know your value when you've never seen it before.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the good then, right? Like, let's talk about, you know, when did you meet your husband? How did you meet your now husband? How old were you when you met him? What was that like?
So my husband actually had moved in next door to my parents. And he and his ex-wife lived there for a couple of years together. So I knew him for several years before we were ever an item. They had a son and tried to, you know, kids, marriages, they're all hard.
Yeah.
They had tried to work through their marriage, their life together, and it didn't work out. And they had separated, gone on their ways. And he started coming around my parents' house. We had actually moved away from being next door, and he came over for a barbecue one day, and it was just like, hi. Like, I even told my mom when they were still married and together and everything, I was like, I would never date somebody like him.
Oh my God.
I was like, I cannot. And so he started hanging out. He would come over and drink with my dad. Like, they would just hang out, and I would be around. Dylan and I would go in and out of wherever they were hanging out. And then he and I started hanging out, and That's really all the story is
what,
there.
What do you think that in the beginning of your dating that you realized it was different? Like, what made him feel different than your other relationships?
Okay, so he actually asked my dad if it was okay if we started dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? Why would you ask him that? Like, nobody's ever done that. And, like, it wasn't clicking in my head at the time because I'm like, that's weird. Why would he ask that? And now I'm like, he was trying to be respectful. He was trying to, like...
It seemed like you had a friendship with your dad, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like... we were all super close. Like, my parents actually... We moved because they had lost their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really messed up situation how that happened. We don't have to go into that. But I had actually bought some furniture for my parents for, like, the patio set and some couches and stuff. And Kyle had went and helped us go pick some of the patio furniture up. And it was just, like, us being around each other. There's just that intense, like...
Yeah, is this something? Like,
yeah.
What am I just feeling this?
But,
Are
like,
we both feeling it? Yeah.
Nothing ever happened, like, until it happened. Like, they got separated, and I was like, oh, hi.
Yeah. Did I know that you mentioned that, like, you pushed him away a little bit out of fear, and so what did that look like?
So, yeah, there were a couple of reasons behind that. One, he had just gotten out of a marriage. They were together for, I think, like 6 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. And his son and his ex-wife had moved away. So I was like, okay, he's, like, not going to be emotionally available.
Yeah.
And then he's military as well. So I was like, he's not going to be around forever. Like, there's no way this is going to be serious. Like, I just can't see a relationship being anything. So I literally sat on the couch one time and cried because I was like, you just need to leave me.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not leaving you. He's like, I care about you. And I was like, what?
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I was like, you do? And he stuck. I don't know how he didn't leave me being crazy right then and there, but he's stuck by me. I was going through some medical stuff, like, my aunt actually was in a really tragic car accident and passed away. Mm-hmm. And this is the moment I really knew I was in love with him. It was Thanksgiving. We were all going Black Friday shopping. And her sister got in this accident. And they were like, it's not good. He's like, I'm taking you to the hospital so you can be there with her son. Because my uncle was out of town. And they were like, it's not good. She's not going to make it. He was crying right there with us, and I'm like, he's been around my family. Mm-hmm. Like, we lived near each other at that point for a couple of years, so he knew my family. And he went to the funeral with me. He drove me everywhere. Like, I am literally not okay. My aunt went through this, this is a life-changing experience for everybody, and he's right there.
Yeah.
And a few months later, he's on his motorcycle just cruising around. And he goes, I stopped by her grave today. And he was like, I wanted to make sure it was cleaned up and everything. And I was like, who is this man?
Yeah, he's a good one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like often there's things in life that we go through, like just moments of, like, hardship that, like, really can solidify someone's intentions and, like, how someone is as a person. Mm-hmm. And, like, there's things like that just kind of allow us to feel comfortable to kind of open up and to really let that in. But it seems like there had to have been a lot of I guess today's just a day, huh? There had to have been a lot of communication, right? Like, for you, I feel like, through everything that you've been through, the communication is going to be really important in a new relationship to allow yourself to kind of trust that relationship.
Yeah, it was hard. I will say that even to when we actually got married, there was still that, like, hesitancy. Mm-hmm. I'd already been through a lot, and I was just like, I don't know, like, you always hear these things about military guys not being faithful and just being kind of cruddy. And I was like, am I sure this is going to work? But he gave me no reason, literally, to not trust him.
Yeah.
I was just crazy.
I don't think that you were crazy. I think that there was probably a lot of life that happened to you that
Yes.
made you act that way.
Yes.
And so it's a lot of unlearning past trauma. It's a lot of like growth that comes as well. How long were you guys together before you eventually got married?
So we were dating roughly a little over a year, and then as far as like our engagement, it was pretty short because he had already been at the base that he was at for like 7-ish years, and that's pretty unheard of. So once we got engaged, I was like, I don't want a big wedding. Like, I don't want to spend the money. We were broke anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's just get married at the courthouse. And that's what we did.
And how long have you been together now?
7.5 years.
Married or together?
Oh, 7.5 years married.
Okay.
So like 8 and some change, 9 and some something in there.
You mentioned before that, therapy wasn't something that you had been through earlier, but did that change? And, what was that journey of healing like once you introduced therapy into your routine?
It was, it really stems from, I was still having the trust issues. Like, my husband went golfing with his buddy, and like, I had a full-on breakdown because, I thought he wasn't really where he said he was. He literally sent me pictures from the golf course.
Yeah.
And he was like, I think it's time. Like, you really need to talk to somebody. And he was like, I'm not saying that, like, anything's wrong with you. He's like, but I think it's time for you to start, like, talking about your feelings and, like, understanding why you are feeling the way you are. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what pushed me into the therapy. That therapy led into medications and other different therapies. I was in pretty intense therapy for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the main things out of therapy that you took? What were some of the main aspects that helped you start to heal?
Biggest thing, probably learn how to communicate. I think even growing up, my sister and I, we weren't really taught how to properly communicate our feelings. Mm-hmm. It was just not really suppressing them, but just not how to appropriately like communicate them. So even just having a simple, uncomfortable conversation, it was so hard for me to even talk about. Like, folding towels, for an example. Mm-hmm. My husband and I would get into arguments about folding towels. He didn't fold them the right way. He still doesn't. But back then, it would be so overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
I would just, I would kind of shut down. And it wasn't healthy. And so I worked through that with my therapist. Communication was the big one. And then, also, trust. Mm-hmm. Yes, you went through these things, and my therapist was great. She was like, I don't negate that, but what has your husband done to make you not trust him? And at that point, I was like, why am I being like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was huge. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I was doing more medication, and I actually did another therapy. It was like the NeuroStar or something, where
mm-hmm.
they use MRI waves and zap your brain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could only do that for a couple of weeks because it started triggering migraines.
Okay.
And I already get really bad migraines. So I was like, okay, this isn't giving me the effect that I need for me to continue doing this and put up with the migraines for as long as I need to.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just take the medication for now and work through my things in therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think that some of those biggest lessons you've learned just in life, not just in therapy, have been over, building this new relationship and, having a parent now? I'm guessing that does he step up and act as if he's a parent to your son? He has a child as well, too.
Yeah, so it's wild. So during that time of me going through therapy, my son's father was working on himself. We all went through it for a couple of years. And so I'm very fortunate in that my son still has a really great relationship with his father. Mm-hmm. My husband is just supplemental at this point. He is still a dad to my son and treats him just like his own. Mm-hmm. But it's nice having that relationship to, like, my son has two fathers,
Yeah.
essentially. There's no difference at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah. And how does that, like, aspect of just communication and love impact that?
I'm trying to think. That's a good question. I would say that in the beginning, when things were a little more petty, my son, I feel like he probably sensed the tension between his father and I. And through learning communication with my husband and, like, how to properly love, I think that my son has actually, like, his behavior is even improved. So, like, he's much calmer now. Like, he's a teenager, and when you think teenagers, you do not think calm.
Yeah.
And he is very calm. He's very compassionate. He's very loving. Like, it's good.
And how are your relationships now with other people, right? Like with your friends, with your mom, with your family? Have those grown because of your own self growth as well?
I would definitely say so. As far as, like, my mom and my dad, like, I think after the traumatic period, I think that already pushed us closer. But now I'm much more, I'm not untrusting anymore. Like, you still have to kind of be apprehensive with some people, just
Yeah.
naturally, but I feel like I'm able to make friends a little bit easier. I'm a little more outgoing. I'm not as, like, I don't want to be around people.
Yeah.
Now I, like, want to go out. I want to be around people. I want to do things. And for years, it just wasn't like that.
Yeah. You want to enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
You
I wanna
see like
travel.
you see like the positive, like, and
Yeah.
not just like the negative aspects of life.
Yeah.
Do you feel like through this healing of what it is to have like a healthy and relationship that you've also allowed yourself to heal those broken parts from like your biological father as well?
I would say so. I think, I can't say that I didn't have a father figure, because I was very fortunate. My stepdad's been wonderful. But just kind of having that sense of, like, my real dad didn't want to be around me.
Yeah.
Like, that hurt for so many years. And, like, there are other relationships that I've had after that have even been like that. Like, and I'm like, why did these people not want to be around me? And now I'm just starting to realize that, like, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
people have their own lives, and that's fine, and, everything. But people who want to be in your life will make that effort.
Yeah. And you don't have any communication with him, right? Like you.
So I do actually occasionally have communication with my biological father.
Okay.
Like an occasional text or, like, a comment on something.
Interesting.
I speak with his wife a little bit more frequently, and he has also two daughters with his wife. Yeah. And they're older now. They're adults, but I mean, I don't really put into that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely adds different layers too,
Yeah.
right? Like, because you take out abandonment and then you give you most of the time would think, oh, they just don't want to be a dad, and then they build another completely different family outside of that, which is there's a lot of healing and thoughts that go into that.
Yeah, that was definitely super rough. I think in that time frame when they had their daughters, I mean, he was trying to create a relationship with me at that point. Like, I would come over occasionally, but it was just like I felt like I still wasn't part of the family.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a lot of probably lack of communication around like the conversations that need to happen for there to even be like a true healing. I go on the fence of it, right? Like, some conversations don't need to happen, but then like maybe there are that do. I'm finding there's power into like not having to know answers to things, and so like you don't always need to answer to be able to heal, which is just like an interesting scenario to be in, right? Like knowing that there's people alive that can give you them, and but who knows if that conversation will really ever happen.
Yeah, he actually had a stroke and a heart attack a couple of years back, and I went to visit him, and I'm realizing now that like the way I was raised, like I grew up really well. I have a dad, and like I don't not care for my biological father, but like it's different. Like
Yeah.
it's a completely different type of love.
Yeah. You've done so much work for yourself, and you know, what do you continue to do to show up for yourself when you have all this like past trauma that you're still growing from?
As far as showing up for myself, I really like just to take care of myself. I like to just not doing anything really. I will read, I will stay home, I will clean. Like it's the strangest thing. It's the things that I hated doing growing up are now therapeutic to me.
Yeah.
So like I'll clean, I'll read, I'll maybe go have like a pedicure, but like really I just kind of relax. Yeah.
Let it all
Yeah.
out.
Because you work and you're always busy. Sometimes you just need to not.
Yeah, yeah, and now you know you've raised a young man. He's a teenager.
Yeah.
How do you teach him about resilience? How do you talk to him about just your emotional well-being?
So we started that actually very young. My son has been the most mature child I've ever met in my entire life. I can have the most serious conversations with him and then also the dumbest conversations. But at the end of the day, like he saw some of what I went through with his dad's like ex-fiance after me. And so like he was aware and he started asking questions, and age appropriate, I'm going to explain those things to him. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm not also going to badmouth my son's father to him either. Like, yes, we didn't get along. We argued. Like, now Dylan knows. But he's much more understanding. He has seen me go through a heck of a lot. Just not just the whole situation with his father, but like medically as well. He's watched me just keep trucking through, and I think also we've put him into therapy, and kind of had him work through things that way because, you know, none of us are perfect, and also like therapy, I would give it to anybody. Like I think even if you're in a good spot, like it is so essential. Right now, he's in a great spot, but he still goes once a week just to,
Yeah.
hey,
To maintain it.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's hard, right? I mean, in a society that doesn't give that emotional support to men, it's really impressive. You should be proud of yourself to have such like a person that's open to that healing, right? The healing before there needs to be healing, the work that gets put in to have that emotional awareness. It just allows for such a brighter like future of like what they're able to handle and emotionally just like be there for themselves, and the trust that you've built kind of between the two of you as well.
yeah. I think for me, I knew I was self-medicating at a younger age, and I didn't want him to fall into that same pattern. And especially like I grew up around alcoholics and people doing things that they shouldn't have done at younger ages. I wanted to have those conversations with him and kind of make sure he was good emotionally so he never had to fall into that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like yeah,
None
I
of
try.
us
I'm
are.
really into tune and talk to him.
Yeah. What advice would you give to two different pieces of advice? What advice would you give to someone that might be in a toxic cycle right now? And then what advice would you give to someone who's trying to raise like an emotionally aware teenager?
Those are both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So as far as the toxic relationship, I would say one, every relationship is different, and just because you're not going through a physical abuse or you're not going through like blatant abuse doesn't mean you're not going through it. There's financial abuse, there's mental and emotional, there's physical, and I don't think some people really realize that what they're going through is abuse.
Yeah.
So don't negate what you're going through just because somebody else has it worse, for one. And for two, make sure that you're taking care of yourself and becoming in tune with yourself, because you can't work on yourself if you don't know, like, you're not accurately feeling your feelings. As far as my emotionally intelligent, I guess, teenager, I wouldn't say that he's quite there yet, but every day is work. I just talk to him. I have really tried to refrain from yelling at him, and I think a lot of people think that kids should automatically like listen to you, like be respectful of you. And I was always raised to that respect is earned, not immediately given. And I know that's kind of controversial for children, like they should respect their elders or their parents. But also, like, we need to be respectful of our kids.
Of course.
And so instead of yelling at him, tell him you need to do this or you need to do that. It's, hey, like, can you do this? Or will you do this for me? Or like, if there's something that he's going through, sit down and have the conversation. And the best place to have it is the car, because they can't get out or run away.
What a great piece of advice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of conversations with my son in the car, and we actually, we have pretty deep conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else, what in general do you hope that someone listening takes away from hearing your story?
I think for me, like telling my story, what I really wanted to come out of it is that I wanted people to know that there are other people out there going through what you're going through. Like, I feel like so much of what we see on like the internet and on TV is the really physical stuff. People bruised and battered and beaten, and that just wasn't the case for me. So like, even when I was in the middle of going through it, it was, oh, I'm not in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not going through that. Like, my mom even tried to tell me at one point, and I was just like, no, that's not it. Like,
Yeah.
And then in hindsight, I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, I really went through it. I mean, there were times where it was really bad, and I tried to constantly just, no, it wasn't that bad. No, it wasn't that. No, it is bad. Like, we all go through something, and you need to not make your stuff feel smaller just because something else is worse.
Yeah. What if someone was listening and wanted to reach out to you, if you were comfortable with that, how would they best reach you, whether it's email or Instagram?
Probably Instagram. I'm on TikTok quite a bit too, but I don't post a lot on there. But yeah, either one of those two. I think my TikTok thing is Kari __ Kisner. And then my Instagram is KKisner87.
I'll make sure to add that to the description as well. And then my final question for you is, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
I would probably tell myself that it's all going to be okay. Like, some things just aren't a big of a deal as you make them, but the things that are a big deal, you should pay a little bit more attention to. Also, probably you can trust people. I think people are inherently good for the most part. There are some definitely bad seeds out there, but I feel like this world is full of really, really great people. And the more you kind of open yourself to that, like, the better things will be. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Kari, thank you so much for your vulnerability and sharing your story with us today. You are proof that healing is possible even after betrayal, abuse, and heartbreak. Your resilience and honesty will inspire so many people to start their own journeys towards self-worth and recovery. To anyone listening, if you're struggling in a toxic relationship or battling the weight of a past trauma, know that there is help, there is hope, and you are worthy of both. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For The Hayters.
See you.
Thanks for listening to For The Hayters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community. And remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
What's your name and share your story? We'll be waiting.